Are you struggling with a modern problem that feels unsolvable? What if the answer lies not in a new app or a self-help book, but in wisdom passed down for generations? Discover how ancient Shona Proverbs can illuminate your path through today's toughest challenges, from family drama to community building. Welcome to a journey deep into the heart of Zimbabwean wisdom, where ancient truths offer practical solutions for the modern world. In a time of rapid change, we often forget the timeless principles passed down through generations. This video explores the profound simplicity and power of Shona Proverbs, such as these aren't just cultural sayings. They are concise blueprints for navigating challenges like arrogance, impatience, and isolation, reminding us that true success is built on a foundation of humility and community. Join us now as we unlock the meaning behind these essential pieces of inherited knowledge and discover how to apply this enduring legacy to shape a wiser future for all. The first proverb we are going to look at is proverb literal meaning. We will thank the flowers once we have eaten the fruit. The flowers, Maruva, represent promises, potential, or hopeful signs. The fruit, Chakata, represents the actual tangible result or successful outcome. I am not just going to explain the proverbs, but also to demonstrate their profound relevance in action, to offer you a fresh angle that gives you a clear picture. Example, application. This story illustrates how Sarah prematurely celebrated and acted on a promise, the flowers before the result, the fruit, or the actual money, was realized.
Sarah's manager, Mr. Davis, called her into his office on Tuesday and told her she was doing fantastic work, promising you'll see a significant raise in your next paycheck, guaranteed. Sarah was ecstatic. She immediately started browsing for a new expensive sofa she had always wanted, mentally spending the extra income and bragging to her friends about the promotion and bonus she was about to receive. However, when Friday arrived and the direct deposit hit her account, she found the number was exactly the same as the previous month. No extra money and certainly no significant raise. Just a brief apologetic email from Mr. Davis citing unexpected budget freezes. Sarah realized then that she had been foolish to celebrate and commit to purchases based only on a spoken promise. She learnt the hard way that, as the Shona proverb says, you should only thank the flowers once you have actually eaten the fruit.
Here are a few life applications and lessons we can learn from the proverb. Wait for proof. Don't get excited about something until you see it delivered. Action over talk. It encourages people to focus on delivering results rather than just making grand promises. Skepticism. It's a way to express doubt about someone's reliability by asking them to prove themselves first. The next proverb. Literal meaning. For a lizard to bask in the sun, it must have a cave in view. The proverb teaches that respect, humility, and adaptability are important. You can't expect special treatment everywhere you go. Example, application. Let me tell you about Mark, who learned this lesson. Mark, a newly promoted sales assistant, started receiving lavish praise from the regional manager after hitting a few major targets. Feeling invincible, he spent his days lounging, delegating his old basic client follow-ups to junior staff, and skipping team meetings. believing his new status meant the old rules no longer applied to him. He treated success as his personal beach chair, basking in the warm glow of achievement. However, when the regional manager unexpectedly transferred and the company restructured, Mark's high-profile clients were reassigned and the budget for special projects dried up. Suddenly, he was just another assistant. And because he had burned bridges and neglected the foundational duties, the cave, that provided stability and respect, he found himself without any established goodwill or reliable tasks to perform. He quickly realized that even when you are enjoying the warmth of success, you must keep your shelter in sight, embodying the proverb. Here are a few life applications and lessons we can learn from the proverb. Always have a backup plan. Even when enjoying success or good times, basking in the sun, one should always be prepared for potential dangers or setbacks. The need for a cave. Security is essential. It highlights the necessity of having a secure base or a place of safety to retreat to when faced with trouble. Prudence and foresight. It encourages people to be prudent and to think ahead, ensuring they are not caught off guard by sudden changes in circumstances. The next proverb is Chidziva, Chakadzikama, Ndicho Chinogara Mwena. Literal meaning, the calm pool is where the crocodile lives. This proverb means appearances are deceiving. Calm, quiet, or seemingly harmless people or situations often hide the most danger, hidden flaws, or intentions, warning against judging by looks alone and urging caution because true threats are often not obvious. Example. Application. This life example I'm going to share illustrates how a seemingly harmless appearance can conceal a serious danger or hidden intent. In the community of Mutare, everyone spoke highly of Mai Rudo, the quiet, unassuming woman who ran the small general store. She never gossiped, always offered a gentle smile, and kept her accounts flawlessly organized. Her shop was a place of total calm, a still pool of tranquility in the busy market. Because of her gentle demeanor and perfect calm, people trusted her completely, making her the caretaker of the village savings circle, where families deposited their precious small earnings. However, when a sudden health crisis forced one family to request a withdrawal, they discovered Mai Rudo's accounts were empty, and she had secretly been using the savings to fund her son's expensive education abroad for years. The villagers were stunned that the greatest betrayal came from the person who seemed the most harmless and reliable, reinforcing the powerful truth that Chidziva Chakadzikama, Ndicho Chinogarangwena, the calm pool is where the crocodile lives. Here are a few life applications and lessons we can learn from the proverb. Deceptive appearances. Just as a still clear pool hides a deadly crocodile, calm surfaces can hide serious threats. Hidden danger. It warns that seemingly peaceful people or situations can be the most dangerous. Your enemy might not show their true colors. Need for caution. The proverb advises you not to be fooled by outward appearances, but to study situations carefully to uncover hidden dangers before getting too involved. The next proverb is literal meaning. A witch should practice witchcraft far away so that their own people can bury them. You shouldn't be mean to people close to you. Example application. Tawanda was a successful businessman living in Harare who, despite his prosperity, always acted aloof and dismissive when he visited his rural Kibwa home area. He consistently refused requests for help with community boreholes, local school repairs, or small loans to his own relatives, often criticizing them for their lack of modern ambition. One year, Tawanda's large, expensive vehicle was involved in a serious accident far from the city, and he desperately needed help covering the initial medical bills while waiting for his insurance to process. He called his distant city friends, who were polite but slow to offer cash, leaving him stranded. His only immediate option was to call the very relatives he had scorned, but one by one, they claimed to be too busy or suddenly unable to afford the trip to the hospital. remembering every time he had belittled them. Totenda lay in the hospital, realizing the crushing weight of his isolation and regretting that he had not heeded the warning. You shouldn't be mean to the people who are supposed to protect you. Here are a few life applications and lessons we can learn from the proverb. Be kind to those close to you. The primary message is that you should not be unkind, malicious, or harmful to your neighbors, friends, or family. Build a support system. By treating people well, you ensure you have a support system when you need help, are in trouble, or in death. Don't burn bridges. If you harm those in your immediate vicinity, metaphorically, practice witchcraft near home, they will not associate with you or speak well of you, potentially leaving you ostracized or alone in times of need. The next proverb is literal meaning. When beards burn, men will douse each other out. The metaphorical meaning is that people help each other in times of trouble. It emphasizes mutual support and solidarity, highlighting that no one can succeed without the assistance of others, and friends or community members should come together to help those facing a crisis. Example. Application. The rains failed completely in Chiweshe this year, threatening to ruin the maize harvest for everyone, but particularly devastating the small family plot belonging to Mbuya Nchombo, an elderly widow who relied on the crop for her livelihood. When the village head called a meeting, most farmers were too worried about their own fields to offer much, except for two neighbors, Silas and Tendai. Silas had an old, reliable borehole, and Tendai owned the only working generator and pump in the area. Recognizing the shared crisis and the spirit of community survival, they immediately organized a schedule. Silas allowed Mbuya Nchombo to draw water from his borehole every afternoon, while Tendai dedicated his scarce fuel to run the pump, with 3 other younger men taking turns carrying the heavy containers across the dry fields. Thanks to this coordinated communal effort, Mbuya Nchombo's small field survived the drought, a clear testament to the wisdom that Kutsva Kwendebvu, Varume Vanodzimurana, when beards burn, men will douse each other out. Here are a few bullet points about the life application and lessons we can learn from the proverb. When beards burn, men will douse each other out. No one succeeds alone. Recognize that true success and stability depend on a supportive network. The story shows that even resourceful people, Silas and Tendai, are part of a larger system that benefits from Mbuya Nchombo's survival. The power of practicality. Help offered during a crisis should be immediate and useful. Silas offered water, the resource, and Tendai offered the generator, the tool needed right then, which is more valuable than just offering sympathy. Community is a safety net. Invest time and goodwill into your community before you need help. The solidarity shown in the story is built on existing relationships and a culture of looking out for one another. Shared crisis demands. Shared solution. The crisis, the drought, affected everyone, but helping the most vulnerable, the elderly widow, first created a model of cooperation and hope that benefits the entire village's morale and long-term stability. The next proverb is Mukadzi Munaku, Kusaba Royera. Literal translation: a beautiful wife who does not steal must be a witch, meaning appearances can be deceptive, yet no one is without vice. For example application, here is a short story. Tariro was the envy of the whole neighborhood in Chitungwiza. She ran a thriving grocery business, always looked impeccably dressed, spoke with grace, and was known for her exceptional kindness. She was so perfect, in fact, that the older women of the community often whispered that such flawless prosperity and virtue could not be natural. They watched as other hardworking stall owners struggled with supply issues or stock theft, yet Tariro's shop was never empty, and she never seemed to suffer a setback. It wasn't until a city investigation revealed that Toriro was secretly diverting essential municipal water, meant for the community borehole, to her back room to wash, store, and preserve her imported vegetables, that her secret was exposed. Her flawless success was not based on virtue alone, but on a serious, hidden betrayal of trust, proving to the villagers that even the most beautiful and seemingly faultless people have a flaw or a hidden vice, leading them to nod wisely and recall the saying, "Beautiful wife who does not steal must be a witch." Here are a few life applications and lessons we can learn from the proverb, "A beautiful wife who does not steal must be a witch." Skepticism of flawless success. The proverb teaches us to apply healthy skepticism when someone appears entirely flawless or achieves prosperity effortlessly. True, lasting success often involves observable struggle or ethical compromise. Judge process, not just outcome. We should look beyond the beautiful appearance, the thriving business and elegant clothes, and investigate the how. Toriro's perfect result was built on the unethical process of stealing municipal water. Beware of unconditional trust. Never grant absolute trust based solely on charm, charisma, or social grace. The greatest betrayals often come from those who successfully cultivate an image of impeccable virtue. Acknowledge human vice. The proverb acts as a reality check, reminding us that every person has a flaw, a hidden struggle, or a selfish drive. Expecting someone to be a complete saint is unrealistic and can make you vulnerable to deception. The next Shona proverb is, literal meaning. Someone can tell you about a scratch on your back, but they cannot show you its full extent or truly relieve the itch through words alone. You have to experience the scratching yourself. You never get the full understanding, information, or appreciation of something merely by being told. It must be experienced. Example. Application. This story, "Experience is the teacher," captures the essence of the proverb that true knowledge comes through personal experience. Blessing heard all the stories about how tough it was to herd cattle over the rocky path to the next village market. His uncle, who had done it for decades, warned him repeatedly about the hidden gullies and the way the herd gets spooked near the bridge, always telling him, "It's not as simple as walking." Blessing, proud of his modern schooling, dismissed the warnings, thinking, "I know the map and I've heard the advice. It's just a long walk." But when his turn came, he found the weight of the sun on his shoulders, the blinding dust that made the gullies invisible, and the sheer effort of keeping 30 animals calm was completely overwhelming. When 2 cows bolted and he spent hours tracking them, exhausted and bruised, he finally understood that all the stories and advice were just words. The painful reality of the labor could only be appreciated by doing the work itself, confirming the truth of the saying. You never get the full understanding, information, or appreciation of something merely by being told. It must be experienced. Proverb life application. The life lesson conveyed by this proverb is the importance of personal experience and first-hand knowledge. Hearing about something second-hand, no matter how detailed the description, does not compare to actually experiencing it for yourself. The proverb suggests that true understanding and appreciation can only come from direct involvement or experience. It is similar to the English saying, "Experience is the best teacher." Another related Shona proverb is, which means, one who refuses to be told, warned, is later seen with a bruise on the forehead, suggesting that ignoring advice often leads to negative consequences that could have been avoided had the person listened to the experiences of others. However, the primary proverb you mentioned emphasizes the richness of the experience itself over the spoken word. The next proverb is literal meaning. We're all from humble beginnings, so don't look down on others. There's no shame in where you started, as even big things come from small places. It's a reminder about humility and appreciating shared, simple roots, often used when someone becomes arrogant or forgets their past. We all started somewhere simple, so don't get too big for your boots. Application example. This story, Humble Beginnings, demonstrates why it's important to remember your roots and remain humble, regardless of your current success. Tinashe arrived back in his home village of Gokwe in his gleaming, expensive sedan, causing a stir among the villagers, who remembered him as the barefoot boy who used to chase goats. Now a successful businessman in Harare, he spent his visit complaining loudly about the dusty roads, the slow pace of life, and the simplicity of his relatives' homes, often saying how he left all that behind. He refused to sit on the low stools or eat the traditional sadza prepared by his aunt, viewing himself as superior to the humble surroundings. That evening, however, Tinashe's car suffered a serious puncture in the isolated road outside the village, and he realized he had forgotten his jack and spare tire. It was the same humble old man he had scorned earlier that day, walking past with only a staff, who calmly walked back to the village, gathered the necessary tools, and fixed the tire for him without a word of complaint. As Tinashe mumbled his thanks, the old man just nodded and said, "Remember, my son." We all started in the same field of millet. Don't forget where you came from. Proverb Life Application. Here are life applications and lessons based on the story in the canvas about Tinashe and the proverb. We're all from humble beginnings, so don't look down on others. Practice. Active humility. Success should not erase your memory of where you started. Remaining grounded ensures you treat all people with respect, recognizing that your current prosperity is built on past experiences and the efforts of others. Respect all roles. The old man, despite his simple appearance and lack of material wealth, possessed the critical knowledge and ability to solve Tinashe's immediate crisis. This teaches that true value and help can come from any person or situation, regardless of social status. The network is the safety net. By scorning his community, Tinashe effectively disabled his own local safety net. When he was in trouble, he had to rely on the kindness of the very people he had alienated, proving that strong relationships are more reliable than expensive possessions. Self-reflection and gratitude. The proverb encourages self-reflection. When you succeed, look back with gratitude toward your roots and the people who contributed to your journey, rather than distancing yourself with arrogance. The next proverb is literal meaning. Be calm, be patient, and take your time. The night is long, conveying that one shouldn't rush important tasks or life's journey, as there's ample time for everything, emphasizing patience and perseverance in difficult or long processes. It's a reminder to be steady, especially in ministry, challenges, or any significant undertaking. Example. Application. Tadya had been dreaming of building his large brick house in Ruwa for 10 years, but after saving enough for the foundation, he grew impatient. He saw his neighbor rush through the construction, using cheap shortcuts and untested builders just to see the roof go up quickly. Tadya felt the pressure to move fast and started cutting corners on his own project, wanting to move in by the end of the season. However, just 6 months later, his neighbor's hastily built roof collapsed during the first heavy rains, causing massive damage and delaying their move-in for another year. Seeing this disaster, Tadya remembered the advice of his father. He slowed down, meticulously inspected every batch of cement, and waited patiently for the right carpenter, even though it meant sleeping in his small starter home for another 2 years. Tadya knew that a strong future couldn't be rushed, recognizing that the proverb holds true. Be calm and take your time. The night is long. Proverb Life Application. Here are life application lessons based on the story in the canvas about Tadya and the proverb. Be calm and take your time. The night is long. Here are a few bullet points about the life application and lessons to learn. Focus on longevity, not speed. The proverb reminds us that significant undertakings, whether building a home, advancing a career, or pursuing an education, require a long-term mindset. Rushing often introduces costly and time-consuming errors, like the neighbor's collapsing roof. Quality requires patience, meticulous inspection, and waiting for the right skill. The carpenter ensures a strong outcome. Never compromise the quality of the foundation for the sake of a fast finish. Resist external pressure. Don't let the quick, visible success of others, like the rushing neighbor, pressure you into abandoning your careful pace. The night is long, meaning there is enough time to do things properly without comparing your timeline to someone else's. Perseverance over impatience. The journey will be long and challenging. Tadya had to wait 2 more years. The proverb encourages calm, steady effort and perseverance, knowing that the reward for taking one's time is a solid, resilient result. The next proverb is literal meaning. To know your grandmother is to be told about her. A proverb signifying that knowledge, especially deep wisdom or understanding of lineage, comes from others. Cultural context. It emphasizes the importance of community and intergenerational connection in Zimbabwean culture, where elders are custodians of knowledge. Example. Application. Simba, having lived in the city since childhood, decided to take over the family farm in Muroyi after his grandfather passed away, but he was filled with modern, expensive ideas. He dismissed the complex traditional planting cycle used by his grandmother and the elders, believing scientific formulas from the internet were superior. He planted his maize early, ignoring the elders' insistence that the Mondoro ancestral rains always arrive late in that specific valley. Simba was proud of his modern methods until the scorching heat in October shriveled his premature crop, while the neighboring small plots, planted later according to the old wisdom, flourished after the proper rains finally arrived in November. Humiliated and defeated, Simba finally approached his grandmother, who gently explained the specific signs of the earth and the sky that govern their valley's unique microclimate. He realized then that true localized knowledge is not found in books, but passed down through conversation. To know your grandmother is to be told about her. Proverb Life Application. Life application and lessons we can learn from this story and the proverb. Value localized wisdom. Recognize that textbook or global knowledge, Simba's scientific formulas, is often incomplete when applied to specific local contexts, like the Muroyi Valley's unique microclimate. True effectiveness often requires understanding and applying wisdom passed down by local experts. Bridge the generational gap. The proverb stresses that essential knowledge is held by elders, mbuya. Seek out and respect intergenerational connections, understanding that their life experience and tested methods are invaluable resources, not outdated practices. Humility in learning. Simba's initial failure stemmed from arrogance and dismissing the elders' warnings. The lesson is to approach new environments or challenges with humility, being a listener first, rather than assuming modern technology or external data is always superior to tradition. Knowledge is shared, not inherited. The literal meaning, to know your grandmother is to be told about her, reinforces that knowledge doesn't automatically transfer. It must be actively communicated, told, and actively received, listened to, through conversation and respect. A timeless legacy, our shared future. The journey through these Shona proverbs, like to know your grandmother is to be told about her, shows us that the wisdom of our ancestors is not merely folklore. It is a practical blueprint for navigating modern challenges. Whether we are managing a startup, leading a team, or simply farming a piece of land, these proverbs offer timely counsel against arrogance, impatience, and isolation, providing a framework for ethical decision-making and community resilience. Their applicability, from the need for humility when successful to the necessity of mutual support, proves their transformative power. We are encouraged to turn inward and explore the ancient wisdom residing within our own families, communities, and cultures. Every culture holds a library of time-tested solutions that can cut through the complexity of contemporary life. By applying these foundational truths, we can find steady, sustainable paths forward, just as Simba finally found success by listening to his grandmother's localized knowledge. Share your stories, foster dialogue across generations, and celebrate this enduring legacy. By consciously integrating traditional knowledge into our daily lives, we honor the past and actively shape a stronger, wiser future for everyone.
Don't underestimate Shona Proverbs.